Honorable educators and chairman, respected opponent, and everyone here today. My name is Nadhif Ganika Putra, as the first speaker of Situwangi Islamic Boarding School and the Prime Minister of the House. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and panels, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Becoming an indicator that students are academically and intellectually ready to continue to a higher level, right? But whether it is college or the job market, for example, so it is exactly one of the main challenges in education in Indonesia is the disparity in quality between schools and the unequal achievements of students' competences, for example. In many cases, there are so many schools with complete facilitated and qualified teachers, for example, but there are also schools that are very limited resources. If graduation solely depends on report card grades or internal school, for example, then there is no clear national standard that have been presented of what it means to be qualified to graduate. So I think by making the national exam or TKA a main requirement for graduation, and we are creating a national minimum standard that all high school graduates, no matter where they come from, for example, so they must have equivalent basic academic competences to join it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, therefore, this is clearly an urgency that must be handled quickly, and that's why we stand inside of the house. Before we going to the next problem, I want to tell you some 3 points to set up because we want to clear debate. TKA or the academic ability test is the standardized objective test designed to make sure students' academic abilities in specific specific subjects, for example. So therefore, this test is important as it is one of the indicators and benchmarks of students' learning achievement and can be used in the various selection, for example. So, such as for entering public universities, for example. Well, ladies and gentlemen, then B, in the context of selection, requirements are criteria or conditions that must be made by an individual to participate in the selection processes or to be declared successful in that selection. So these requirements can include educational qualification, work experiences, special skills, for example, or age limitations, and it's depending on the type of selection that being conducted, for example. So, in other words, requirements in the selection act as an initial filter to ensure that only individuals who meet certain criteria participate in the subsequent selection processes. So, with the presence of requirements, the selection process becomes more efficient and directed as only candidates who have the potential to meet the job or position. So, the requirements will proceed to be going to the next stage. Okay, but before we go into the agenda that occurred today, let me tell you what our team will bring to the house because we want to clear debate. Okay, our set of victory is clear on 6 panels. Number 1, justice. Second, responsibility, competence, economy, social, and last is education. In the beginning, I will explain what test really is and why it's so important is considered. And the second speaker will talk about the impact beside the economical aspect, for example, and those kind of stuff. And the third speaker will strengthen the motion by showing the evidences and all the arguments that have been presented before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, moving to the next problem that I curate today, but before that, on-site government, I will prove this insight by something that only exclusive in our team. Because firstly, I want to show you that academic tests such as TKA, for example, are objective and fair in assessing students' abilities uniformly. So the academic competency test or TKA is an evaluation tool designed with uniform standards and criteria for all participants that presenting before. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that having tested our validity and reliability to detect the TKA, for example, provides us a fair and unbiased benchmark for assessing students' academic achievements. So it's unlike project-based assessment or observation, for example, that can be influenced by teachers subjectively and non-objectively, for example. So our external factors such as school facilities, the TKA assesses students purely based on their knowledge and critical thinking skills. So therefore, making the TKA a primary graduation, it's a requirement. It can make sure that the graduation decisions are based on objective and uncountable data, not an individual on the interpretations. Ladies and gentlemen, it seems to me that this is an urgent matter because there are so many injustices present around us, right? Because this proposition believes that with this house we will be able to address the imbalance in acceptance or selection, for example, and due to nepotism, changes in report card, for example, and many other cases. Therefore, we want to ensure that someone who truly deserves the opportunity to success in the future later. So, ladies and gentlemen, actually has that changed because in recent years there have been many cases where truly intelligent and talented individuals did not pass the selection processes due to cheating done by others people, by other, for example, and many other things, for example, such as inflating grades and so on. So the second is aspect of justice and standardization. Every student in Indonesia has a different school background, right? So some schools have a complete facilities, while others have to fight for a blackboard, for example. Well, this national exam can serve as an objective and uniform measure to assess students' abilities nationwide. Well, ladies and gentlemen, so it's not because the teacher is kind-hearted or because the school is elite, for example, but because the students are indeed competent. So the status quo speaks louder. For example, that the national examination or UN data indeed has a significant impact on the various aspects of education in Indonesia, depending on other selection, for example. It's like the TK, right? Well, ladies and gentlemen, do you ever imagine if there's a doctor handing you, but they said they graduated just because they got into biology, for example, into biology and attended college for the sake of formality, for example. So this is a bit creepy, right? Therefore, this TKA or academic test can serve as proof before they go further. The point is that academic tests are not mean up to pressure students, but to ensure fairness for everyone and become an important asset for the future and our young generation. So, with all the arguments that have been presented, I'm very proud to propose.